Thanks everybody for being here. This is the GraniteCon 2025 Ninja Turtles panel. So I saw that there was going to be a lot of guys who worked on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures, the comic from the Archie comics back in the day. So I thought we should kind of focus this mostly on that book, as well as a little bit of Mirage, a little bit of IDW, but really this is heavy on Mirage stuff. And I thought I'd start with a question for Eric, Jim, Mike, and Steve. You guys were there before the Archie book started. What do you remember about those early days of that book? Like, we're going to be doing this other turtle comic with Archie. What do you remember about that? Oh, sure.
No, it's on. It's not nice.
Is this working? Okay. Well, I did the first 3 issues of the Archie Turtle.
Yeah.
Which was just an adaptation of the TV show. And I was actually offered the Archie gig after that.
Okay.
But they just wanted to continue doing adaptations of the cartoon, and
right.
I was not interested in doing that. And then they got a new team, and they let them do new stuff. So like, what?
Wait, you told one on me.
So then, to spurn them, I never worked again on the Archie Adventures book.
Are there any highlights from those first 3 issues? I mean, what was the process of just watching the cartoon and like?
No, I did it before the cartoon was even on the air.
Oh, really?
I worked from the storyboards.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why probably it doesn't look a lot like the cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just had model sheets and.
I mean, that was the joy of that book for me, is even though it was related to the cartoon, like your art, Chris's, Ken's, like was different enough, had a lot of personality to it. And if you aped the cartoon so much, I don't think it would have been nearly as good. The book became its own.
Well, that was the beauty of Mirage in general, is that they didn't really, force us all to draw the same way. It was okay for everybody to have their own style. It's totally unheard of in the licensing world. And
Sure.
It kind of made some problems with like licensing art and stuff later on, because there wasn't a lot of uniformed art until Steve and Ryan started doing that.
Yeah, there's no like style guide or anything to go by, right?
Right.
Do you guys remember how like it came out like, oh, hey, we're going to be doing this other book? Like, do you remember Kevin or Peter saying anything like, hey, Archie's getting involved, or why it was farmed out for that matter?
Yeah, it was a licensing deal. And I know, Kevin and Pete did the first, 5 covers?
You did.
I colored them, but Kevin and Pete drew,
Okay.
I think, the first 5.
That sounds right, yeah.
First 5 covers, I think. And that was a lot of fun. And again, that was an issue with Archie. They, in the past, just did like flat coloring. They didn't have full painted stuff on any of this stuff. And Kevin and Pete were really adamant that they wanted to have something that looked like a better comic sitting on the rack.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, any other memories from doing the covers? Because you did a bunch of them.
Oh, I did a lot of them. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was kind of a fun, kind of ongoing gig. So anytime I could do it, I'd do it.
Was it like who was available at the time, or was it like
If I was available, I was doing it. Kind of, yeah. That was it. So if I wasn't doing it, I was off doing something else. So
Sure.
that I had to turn it down that time. But
Gotcha.
if I was going to do it, I was doing it. So yeah.
I think the Mirage thing was we were growing into a big property, so there wasn't a whole lot of thought behind some of this stuff. It was kind of like, oh, what are we doing next? We got to get this done. So who's going to do that? It was that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So there wasn't like a machine behind it that was directing everything. We were just a bunch of artists that were hanging out, and it just kept growing, and we had to respond to that.
Yeah, I always like to say that we didn't know the word no.
Sure.
If somebody said, "Can you do that?" we say yes automatically, and then try to figure it out.
Well, that's why I got Ninja Turtle toothbrushes and things like that, because nobody said no, so I liked it.
Yeah.
At that point, we were also, up until that point when the black and white book was coming out, we were all together in one studio every day. And we would just kind of pass stuff back and forth. We'd always be talking about what we were doing.
Sure.
But the property grew to a point where we moved to a different building, and we all had our own individual offices. And there was it was much more of a thought out machine at that point. But so, I don't know. There was more of a unity back then with all the black and white stuff. And once it transitioned over to being, the need to bring in other people to meet the deadlines we needed to meet. And all of a sudden, up until that point, the Turtles are being done by us in black and white comics, suddenly there was like all these licensing things coming. So
Sure.
that's where like Mike was saying, the response was, it wasn't really thought out, right? I mean, it was just kind of like we rolled with it. And we had no idea what we were doing.
But honestly, like, when the Archie book started to get really rolling, Steve Murphy, God rest his soul. He was so good at wrangling it all and
Okay.
organizing everything. One of my favorite things about the Archie book, even though I didn't work on it a lot, Murph used to have, as the artwork came in, he would have it, bulldog clipped, 3 issues ahead or whatever, because he was so organized. And as the artwork would come in, I would like to go in and look at, all the originals that came in. And the work that I did get was always something like, Ken Matroni sent this cover in, and we needed it yesterday, and the inker can't do it. Can you do it? So I would do it that day, and
Sure.
that kind of thing.
I have a little anecdote here. So I inked a bunch of your stuff, and I was like kind of punk rock metalhead kind of. I'm too cool for Archie. So I had I used a pen name. I did Octavius Spore. Do
I
you
know.
remember that?
I have those.
So like I was like, I'll ink it, but I'm not putting my name on it. It's Archie stuff. I was like, it's just not cool. It's not punk rock. Then I came around, and it was actually kind of cool.
Nobody could recognize your style.
Yeah, no, there was. You could like fingerprint all my art back then. There's no way it's not me. So, yeah, that's my joke. That's my funny thing. What'd you think of that, Chris?
I thought it was hilarious, and it was you still poured your heart into it though. That was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't not do an amazing job.
Thank you.
And I had no idea. I didn't know. I didn't.
for it.
Yeah, I didn't know if
more than that.
Octavius Spore was because you were too cool for Archie, or because it was just like some in joke. Because the thing was, it's like you all were up in Mirage, you were all in the clubhouse, and I was, on the other side of the chain link fence, just going, can I come in? And then guys, no room. And then so I just assumed that like something like Octavius Spore is like, oh, that's probably something going around the office that I'm sure is really funny up there.
It was a fun signature to do, actually. So I think actually Murph had changed his name as well.
Murph
So
had changed his
Dean
name,
he was
but
Dean Clarane.
That was
which, yeah.
that was
That
there
was
was
the
there were
the
fraught reasons
writer.
for that I don't even know the whole story about. I mean, it had to do with somebody who was
I don't
like
wanna speak for
following her.
him.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, we will not. Okay, never mind. Moving on.
So he was in the clubhouse though, right?
Murph,
Okay.
Yeah.
He was with, okay.
He had the biggest office. So.
Oh, really?
he had his shit together. We were all just like, what am I doing now? He had his stuff together. Sorry.
So after Mike Dooney, there was Dave Garcia did a few issues, and then comes on Ken Matroni, and they're still doing the adaptations at this point. Ken, and your wife wrote a lot of the episodes, wrote those couple issues with you that were still adaptations of the cartoon. Anything you remember about those early issues before it became its own thing?
Let me see. Let me see what I can come up with here. I'll make something up if I can't
That's
remember.
fine. I'm okay with fake stories. You don't need to, we just need to fill the time.
No, I was working on Tiny Toon Adventures and at Warner's, and I got a call from Pete, and he's just like, "Hey, we need somebody to do the Archie books. Where are you in?" And I'm like, "Wow," because yeah, Mike Dooney is, and everyone else is too cool to work on this. So all right, well here we go. Yeah, exactly. Well, Alan Smithy quit, so now we have Alan Smithy. In a big way. So yeah, we were, we had come off doing the adaptation of Robert Asprin's book, The Myth Conceptions. And so they were just like, oh, well, Kenny and Beth know how to do this. So why don't we get them to adapt the animation? And I was coming off the first season, so I had plenty of time. I went back to my studio in Florida and started working on it. And once again, working from storyboards and model sheets. And I'm like, I can't keep this on model. I mean, no, I don't want to do that, So I was doing the best I could. But it was really just fighting the style with my own style. And it was just like, okay, this is just a licensing thing. I get it, And then once I had got the first issue done, and then we got into the second issue, then I came up to Mirage and met this group that was, this group of otters in this silver factory, doing all this madness. and just kind of got the vibe, and that was something else. That was something else. It kind of changed my perception of everything, and then about the time we finished the second one, all of a sudden the rules changed. And Murph's like, well, we're going to be doing all new stories. We're going to be doing all new adventures. Forget the TV show. And I went, oh, thank God. So all of a sudden, the script started coming in. Ryan was faxing me artwork. This is what the new characters are going to look like. These are, and it was cool because I was starting to get all this cool stuff from these guys. I never knew what was going to come through the fax machine, and that's how old it was. We were using fax. And it was just fun. It was just kind of heady. And the redhead went off doing the, she did they gave her all the fan mail to answer, so she wasn't like she wasn't writing anymore. She was still had her job at the newspaper too. So, but she was doing the fan mail. She'd always help me with inking. She would always do the colors, when we had a chance. So there was a job for her too. So that was pretty much the early days. And then on and off during all the shows I was doing covers and doing, the guts and whatever else. So it was a hell of a time. And I always loved coming up to see these guys and, hopping on the motorcycles with Jim and Pete and, hanging out in the studio because these guys were fun, You're just like this collective of, energy, and you're just like, God, you guys are just like super cool.
I seem to remember that, like, the Archie books started off, like you say, as like adaptation. It was like really geared towards the TV show. But at some point, Murph started driving the people of Archie absolutely crazy because I think maybe
I
at
can
some
speak
point it
to
was
that.
realized that we had the power to do whatever we wanted and they couldn't really say no. So instead of just doing Saturday morning cartoons, Murph really went off the rails a little bit and did some crazy stuff. There was some it was like Hitler's brain was in there.
Yeah.
At some
Brain
point.
was in there.
It was, I remember Bob Fingerman did something called, what was he called? Inardo. It was like a character built out of body parts and stuff. And,
Sure.
Yep.
And I used to hear stories like, who was it, Victor? Or he would just be like, what the hell are you guys doing? It was like crazy.
I can tell
crazy
you-
Did
stuff.
they have any say over it? Could they say
No,
that we're not?
I can tell you right now where my position was
you were
that
connected.
because I was down at the Archie offices. I didn't work out of them, worked out at my house, but I would go into the offices there, and so they just had the right to publish the book. They didn't have any editorial say over it, and Mirage didn't care. So Steve Murphy and I were wildly unsupervised, and the degree to which that got on Victor Grelix and the Silberkleit's nerves, I would come in and be the face of this thing that just annoyed them, and I was a victim. Yeah, I was the kid while mommy and daddy were fighting, and I'm like, I'm just drawing pictures, guys. It's like, this is crazy. What are you guys drawing? It was like, I'm just here to make copies.
To me,
Give me an ulcer.
Oh yes, with Gorelick, yeah.
along with Hitler's brain, the craziest introduction to the turtle anything was Cuddly, a floating cow head.
Yeah, whose
that
was
traveled through
Cuddly?
space.
Who invented Cuddly?
Who came up with this?
I didn't invent it, but I drew him.
The most insane.
Because I love
character ever.
him so much, and
I think a lot of this stuff came from like lunches, right? Like people would say stuff.
Put it out there, and I went back and did the design and.
Like Crying Hound was Ryan Brown. Like and
Yeah, Ryan Brown should be mentioned here.
Pete was really into wrestling, so that was probably where the wrestling. I mean,
Conventional wrestling and stump whistling.
it all had roots in like probably
do
the
you
Secret
know
War
that
shit
I'm
and all that
today
sort of stuff.
years old when I just made the connection between Ryan Brown and Crying Brown? I'm today I'm today old when I made that connection. Hearing you say that,
But then they also
I
did stuff-
never made that before.
Like with Jim did Leatherhead. Who created Leatherhead? Yeah, okay.
Crying Hound.
But then they
Crying
brought
Hound did.
characters like that into the Archie, and they kind of went through like an Archie filter and became these goofy things. Like Leatherhead was never this goofy.
No, in the
toy.
original Tales book, he was kind of more big.
He was very
when
serious.
you designed him originally, he was kind of
Yeah.
a big gator with wraps.
Yeah, he was kind of a badass. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like again, it was like there was Mirage, and then there was Archie, and somewhere in the middle, it meshed together and made. That's why probably it's got an edge to it. It's different, and that's again Mirage, like Mike was talking about. It was like Mirage was a different animal altogether that we all experienced and went through. It's a different kind of world.
I do remember that at that point, you either like it black and white or you like the Archies. I was always that target of like, no. It was always that like, oh, you draw the Archie books. Oh, I like the black and whites. Or they go, I don't like the black and whites, but I really like the Archie book. But there was only 2 books out there. There was only 2. There was the black and white, and there was the Archie books, and that was it. And there were like 2 distinct camps. And you'd go to a convention, and half the people would come up and go, oh, I hate you, and the other people would come up and go, oh, I really love this. It was ridiculous. I think you guys were behind all that, I think.
Well,
Steve says, I don't like you. Why you? Don't make me come over there. I can turn this comic book around right now.
let's be that weird filter thing to go through. I have a big question for Jim, which is how the hell did Ace Duck end up this giant muscly guy in a Speedo?
Honestly, these guys are talking. I remember so very little from back then.
Oh, pleading the fifth.
So I'm learning stuff too. Actually, it was probably just Murph. I only illustrated a few short issues around the Stump Asteroid Wrestling Turtle time.
But those are seminal ones. People really remember those.
Yeah, I can't remember if Murph wanted this kind of Adonis kind of.
We're all just going to blame Murph today.
He's not here to defend himself.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Murph-
I'm sorry, man.
No, please,
I
it's
really
fine.
can't.
No, in addition to Murph's super organization, he was a writer
Sure.
who could not draw.
Okay.
So, like, you're trying to drum shit up, man. Just keep it on the level here.
Come with me.
But he would like I designed like Ninjara and Jaguar and a few other and I drew what he said. He wrote out, she's
Okay.
this tall, she's wearing this,
Yeah, he was very.
Yeah.
So he probably described how Ace Duck Speedo should look.
Yeah.
I bet he did. Yeah.
Okay.
In exquisite detail.
I mean,
Duck anecdote? Here's my
Please.
Ace Duck anecdote.
Yeah.
I used to go to this bar called Sheehan's in Northampton. And one day, I was walking through the bar, and Ace Duck's hat was on the floor. And I was like, what? That's Ace Duck's hat? How it got there, I don't know. But I put it up on like a vent or something, and it was there until they closed. Every time I was in there, it's like, oh, there's Ace Duck's hat. Sorry.
Did the Ace Duck in the Archie comic predate?
He was like a
a toy first.
Oh
Right?
yeah, he was a pilot. Yeah,
He was
had a
like
hat
in a
and stuff.
flight jacket.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
a pilot
And he had that
in a
hat. Yeah, yeah.
And then he appears in Archie and he's naked, basically.
Well, he was wrestling.
Right.
Wrestling Ace Duck.
The gold lame bikini on. Come on, that's not naked.
I'd like to know what everybody thought of all that stuff, because the book did go in weird directions based on like our lunches, I think, and our hanging out and talking about stupid stuff.
When the script would show up, and then like weird characters would pop in, and I was like, I didn't know the history of the lunches or anything, so this would be the first time I'm seeing them, and Murph would fax over like somebody's sketch of what the character would look like, and I'm like, what?
On a napkin from
Yeah,
TJ's.
and I'm like, and it was always so very non sequitur to me, but I'm like, I don't know, and I always just thought somebody came up to Murph and said, can you put this in the book? And he would be like, fine. I just assumed it was that. I didn't know how they ended up in the book.
I think we were all like freewheeling and
Yeah.
just buddies, and Murph had the skill to, number one, remember what we were talking about, but number two is organize it and pick and choose pieces from our stupid lunches. It was like an inside joke thing. That just
like in this day and age, like the toy company and stuff would be pressuring the creators to put the toys.
I thought they did that. They didn't do it as much back then?
didn't do it at all. I don't know.
Huh.
That's what I assumed. Yeah.
Look
We-
at
we-
that tattoo. You worked on the tattoo one. That wasn't like Playmates, hey, we sculpted this fat guy in a diaper. Please put him in the comic.
No, we had a guy,
It really is.
Carl Aronian would come and spend like 3 or 4 days. We'd have like meetings and draw silly stuff, and if you were lucky enough, one of your pieces would be made into a toy.
Okay.
I got one. I got Tattoo Guy.
And again, I think it was kind of the reverse of them. We would try to put our characters in the Archie book.
Yeah.
Because then they might get made into a toy.
Oh, I see.
You
Sure.
know, So there was always that chance. Like,
belief that this was
there was a lot of that. Yeah, there was a lot. That's why Leatherhead was the first thing in, because Ryan was involved right away. So Leatherhead had to be right in that.
I remember that you guys would send the artwork, and it was Jim would be doing, you guys would be doing, Brian would be doing, and it just like, okay, how am I going to do this? And then the word came down, just draw it in your style. Just do it. Don't try to match what we got here. Just do it, but do it in your style. And I thought that was so nice of you guys because it was so freeing. And I was just like, oh, well, I'm going to draw Cuddly my way.
It was all deadlines.
It was all easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it helped me out a lot. But it was fun. It was fun. You have that freedom to just do it in your style as opposed to.
Did you ever get edited
comics.
on like you ever turn a page in and Murph would make you change something?
Never.
Not once.
Never.
Yeah. How weird is that?
You're talking about the creative freedom you had for drawing. And
Yeah.
As Murph and I worked together for a while, it became way more collaborative even in the writing process. And it got to the point where Murph was just sending like rough outlines for how he wanted the book to go, and then I would dialogue a lot of it. Like I would just add the dialogue in as word balloons around the corner, and then he would use those and go. And then sometimes he would write something, and I would say, "Hey, what if we tried this?" And he was like, "Oh, yeah, that's great. We'll do that instead." And he was like, "So we almost, I mean, I'm not going to say co-writers because at the highest proportion it was probably like 70-30, but I was able to give my 30, and he was always real open to it. So that was so. I will accept some responsibility for how weird the book got on occasion.
I remember at one point you guys were doing some kind of Mutanimals thing. It might have been a book. I don't remember exactly, but one of the this is like very much like Mirage. Like there was a point where they end up in hell, and you had to draw them. You remember drawing that big giant page?
I did draw, the big 2-page spread of them being reflected in the characters' eyes of their souls being tortured in hell. That was fun.
So Murph brings it to me. I had nothing to do with the rest of the book, but he brings me that page. He's like, "You should ink this," and I inked it, and it's like one of my favorite pieces we did together. But that's kind of again that.
You didn't do that. That was Octavius.
It might have been Octavius, yeah. I'm taking credit, but yeah, I mean, it's just like it was a cool page.
Future
to have.
Raphael shot somebody in the head. So,
Yeah,
that was a 2-page spread. Bang.
poor Archie.
The wrestling turtles are designs they recently were made into toys, and people really love those. I know they started as Pete and Kevin like alternate costumes, right?
Yeah.
And then it became the wrestling outfits. Do we remember how like they came? I know you drew them first, Jim, but I don't know if you remember how they made their way over to the wrestling Archie book.
I don't know why it was like Pete. It probably came from a drawing Pete did. He probably it was just Pete drawing the turtles with these costumes, and then
Sure.
like how can we use these type thing. And I don't know if they were like Kirby inspired or something like that, but
We need a big cow head.
Actually, that piece was actually at their very first con. Yeah. Pete was already thinking about changing it because they had their Mirage Studios logo airbrushed, and then that was right next to it. And I think it was just like a thought ahead that Pete thought maybe we'll change their costumes to,
Differentiate them.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. But it was.
I think Pete was kind of like known for that. He'd draw something or think of something that he thought looked cool, and then it'd be like, how can we use this?
Sure.
Where can we put this?
That black suit Raph, people like that's still a
gonna
design
say.
that people just love.
Yeah, I was doing the Wingnut and Screw Loose
mean
issue while you were
Spider
doing the
Raph?
wrestling. We were doing tag teaming, and so when they sent me the first, the designs, and I'm like, what is going on here, And just well, Jim's doing that part of the book because we got to get this one done. So, and they sent me the designs, and it was like okay, and I did like 3 panels of these guys or 4 panels in the wrestling outfits, and that's the first time I ever saw them.
Another design people loved was the future Raph and Donnie. Donnie with the coat, and then Raphael with the swords and the baseball cap. Chris, what do you remember about those when they came in? Like, did you have any part in designing them, or?
I did. Whoops. I actually got to design all of their looks.
Oh, nice.
That was just that was at the point where I was saying before where things were pretty loosey-goosey between me and Murph. And he was like, okay, we need 4 future turtles. And I was like, all right. And I tried to kind of extrapolate what their characters would evolve into. So that's why Mikey had like the baseball jersey, the the athletic jersey because he was more of like the skateboardy guy, and Leo was teaching his class, so I gave him the leather jacket, and Raph I thought was like he would be the real traditionalist. He would be the one that was keeping the torch alive, so I just kept him the way he was with a baseball cap, and then Donnie had his lab coat, and that was what I had come up with, and Murph was like, great. He at that point I feel like he was happy for whatever I could bring to the table.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yes. There's not a lot that I hold on to that are like precious to me, I will say. And the 5 covers that we were going to do for the Forever War, that Octavia Spore inked for me. Yes. Then. Yeah. I hold those close to my chest. Those I still have, and they're right there. And no, they never said they were. I think they were in the advertising, like coming soon, but they canceled the book before they were printed. So. Got paid. That's what matters. The fun thing about the very last. So we actually penciled and inked. We're jumping all over the timeline.
No, yeah.
But we actually penciled and inked issue 70, I think, the first issue of what was going to be the 5-issue finale arc, the Forever War arc, and Mirage penciled inked it. And then they canceled the book, and that never got published. But then Murph called and said, "Look, the book is canceled, but they promised to pay you for whatever you can give me by the end of the week, pencil wise." And he said, "I don't care what it looks like. I don't care if you send me stick. I don't care if you send me stick figures." And I still have those pages because I just basically I did the most rough, just like bam. I did like 6 pages a day, and they look like garbage. And Murph was like, "Great, take that, Archie. Print this."
I want to ask Tom a question. I'm sorry to keep you waiting over there. So Tom did the IDW run, and which was a lot of amazing new ideas, but also a lot of cool stuff pulled from the past. Can you point to any stuff from Archie that you really liked, or like a Mutanimal, or something that you really enjoyed bringing over?
Actually, with Archie's, so we had so many different eras and iterations to pick from, and what we were doing at IDW and continue to do is kind of like basically cherry pick characters, but we're really adamant and disciplined about only bringing characters in if it made sense to the story. We didn't want it to be fan service and just simply inject these characters. So it actually took me a little while to get around to the Archie stuff, but it was actually a deliberate process for me. I left the book at 100 and was doing Ronin with Kevin, and they had asked me to come back and do something in the mainline again while Sophie was working because they thought she might be leaving. And I came up with this idea for Armageddon game, this event Armageddon game, and I really wanted to lean into the Archies for that because I hadn't yet. But I wasn't sure what I was going to find, and what I found blew my mind because I felt like you could tell it went from adaptation to almost like stream of consciousness comic because it was just like, and then I said, this is way crazier than I expected to be, but in some ways way darker.
Yeah.
So actually, the Archie comics really influenced the direction Armageddon game took. Specifically, I can point to the Nova Posse. I had never seen the Nova Posse, and then I said, "Who is this? This is like Guardians of the Galaxy and Turtles." And I was like, it was love at first sight for me. Those characters and that idea really influenced the story, but also Armageddon game was my chance to finally bring in Cuddly. Because Cuddly makes no sense.
No, none.
At all. But that's why Cuddly is so remarkable to me.
Sure.
Because it's almost like I treat it like a demigod, like this demigod that floats around and floats between the dimensions and just happens to look like a cow. In some countries in this world, cows are sacred. I said, why not? Maybe that's why. Because Cuddly is their god. Maybe, I don't know. But
I'm sure that's the amount of thought that was put into it.
Yeah, and we all know working on Turtles, the first rule of Turtles is the weird takes care of itself.
Sure.
I mean, it's already weird. So you don't have to worry about weirding it up.
Yeah.
If anything, you try to take the weird and put it in these normal situations and scenarios. And I think that's why Turtles work so well. And they did that in Mirage, they did it in Archie's, because always it's about the family. and the family's having adventures. The family's taking care of each other. You know, I tell people, I've never been in an alley fighting with swords before, but I've had plenty of arguments. Yeah, it'll come, yeah. But maybe I'll go to Cat Alley later. But you know, it's like I've had arguments with my siblings. I've worried about my mom and my dad. They've worried about me, and so those are all the things you have to inject. But with Archie's, I just felt like it was weird on steroids.
Sure.
But it worked. It really worked.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a horrifying scene. I think it's the Gang of Four, because I brought the Gang of Four, our version, into Armageddon game. I think they literally like murder the mutanimals or a bunch of them and with machine guns. And I said,
That one still hurts.
I was like, man, that must have been great to work on that book, because they never let us do it now. And you know, the Nickelodeon brand team would come to my house. Yeah, you know, but yeah. But again, it's like you can't judge something like a book by its cover, is the old saying. But I actually had kind of early prejudices about what the Archies would be until I sat down and read them, and so it was very influential in that last part, you know, that I wrote for the main book, which was Armageddon Game. I think to me, Armageddon Game is kind of an Archie story, and that's where it came from.
I mean, there's also a seriousness about, like, there's environmental messages throughout the book and lots of cool, really thought out, like in ways that was more weird than the cartoon, but also like more serious and like
there's
intense.
some deep dialogue in it. It's just such a weird juxtaposition of seeing this deep dialogue and this deep storytelling, and it looks very cartoony.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at it, and I think that's what happens with Turtles. Turtles, in my opinion, is just as mainline and more important than any Marvel or DC book. It should be. But people, the thing about Turtles is they'll think I already know what it's about, even though they don't. So they'll think, oh, it's that goofy cartoon from the 80s. And I go, it is that, but it's other things too.
Sure.
And I don't think, but once people jump in, they see that. And that's why you have this community and you have this turtle family, and it's so robust and it continues to grow, because it's just one of those things where you just take a chance. You take a chance and you will find your turtles, you know, and I can honestly say, for me personally, I love all the turtles, but when I jumped into Archie stuff, I said, "Wait, this is me all the way. I gotta dig in deeper," and I'm glad I did.
I think I personally kind of like that feeling. I mean, it's not like when you think of the Turtles, not a lot of people think of the Archie initially, and so it has that vibe of being the cool band, you know, that not a lot of people listen to. Like, you know, oh yeah, this has like, you should give it a try, and then like, so it's almost like this like little fan secret that people like feel a sense of personal ownership of when they discover
absolutely.
it.
And, it's like if Mirage's Led Zeppelin.
I get that when people come around.
Heads.
Yeah.
You know, Chris, starting with you, and we'll go down the line and we'll get to Q&As. Give me an Archie character, either Mutanimal or one of the ones that was heavy in Archie that was like, you especially loved drawing.
No contest. I love Ninjara. I mean, I know you created her, but I drew her, I think, probably, I assume, more than anybody. And it's just like I always felt, I don't want to say a sense of ownership, but almost parental about her. She's always been like, you know, my baby. And because, you know, I didn't design her, but I felt like I breathed a lot of life into her. And I just saw her redesign. Chris Vance was shown to me. It looks amazing. And I love the new one that they're coming out with, because it's updated, but it still kind of feels like her, and it's awesome. And yeah, I think she's gonna be. Is she in the book yet, or is she coming soon?
Yep, I can say she'll be in Battle Nexus. We have a series coming from IDW called Battle Nexus. It'll be a 5-week event. I think it's late November, and different writers from the IDW era took turns writing an issue. So I wrote issue 1, and I will say right here, Ninjara appears in issue 1 of Battle Nexus, and I have a feeling she'll have some longevity.
Let powers that be know that I would love to do a pin-up of her new design.
I will absolutely know. Yeah, and see, and it's funny you bring that up, because for all the artists that come on board, at least my time at IDW and working with Turtles, it tends to be, whether it's the toys, but also the Archie's comics, where the artists were always asking, can you put this character in? Because I loved him in the Archie's comics. So, and Ninjara was like top of the list. And I think I don't know why it took so long. I think there may have been some legal issues in the background. They never knew where some of the rights lay, and they just wanted to be careful. But, you know, we got a really good team at Paramount now, and one of our reps is Jeff Whitman. He's a big fan on top of being the rep there. And he's been very, very adamant about us like digging into those characters and trying to find a way to bring them back to the surface. And Ninjara was like I mean, Sophie Campbell couldn't do Najara fast enough. She's like, I'm in, just for that reason.
Ken, give me a favorite Archie character to draw or you had fun with.
Well, for me, it was Wingnut and Screw Loose. I think that was the beginning of the craziness for me, and they love that. You know, I worked for Ed Big Daddy Roth for a long time, and you know, drawing Ratfink and drawing those characters was just like drawing Ratfink. So, and I love that they're just kind of they need each other. You know, and they're just two tortured souls, but he needs to be dosed by Screw Loose. It's just a really perfect character, and they're a really good team. And you know, these tortured souls that are hopping dimensions, and you know, just something that resonated with me. And they're just fun to draw. They're just incredibly fun to draw. So I guess that's pretty much it. I mean, those are the guys I like the best.
Cool. Eric, what about you?
I'm not fully up on all of it, but yeah. Let me switch my hat. No. Last year I started doing sketch cards, and I didn't like doing them. And for some reason I was like, I'm gonna try this again. And I put a post online and said, who should I draw? And people started throwing Archie characters at me left and right. So I found it was a really good exercise to try to do my spin on these characters.
Sure.
But a lot of times I was only I would look up the character, get a picture. I had no idea what their story was. And I did a whole bunch. And one of my favorites to draw was Mondo Gecko. But I was not drawing Mondo Gecko as you know Mondo Gecko. It was more like Otto from The Simpsons, and you know. And
That's a good fit.
which I guess it would fit. but he's like, you know, he's very bizarre looking.
I'll have to check that out. That's cool.
But I don't know. Other than that, I don't know. There were some cool characters, but I really not really up on the stories.
No, that's a great
much,
example.
so.
Mike, what about you? Anybody in particular you liked from that book?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I didn't really draw a lot of the different cooler characters that came later. But in the Archie world and in Mirage, I always kind of like Splinter because I feel like he doesn't get enough love. And also I like the idea that he never looks like a rat. You know, he always looks like a dog or something like that. But we just accept that he's a rat somehow or other. So
He got in the action more in that comic book than he did anywhere else. Like he
Yeah.
was fighting with the turtles and stuff. The other, like a lot of the times in the cartoon, it was like, okay, my sons are going life and death danger, and I'm going to just stay here and eat sushi. Like there's a real no.
yeah, I think that even in a lot of the comics, Murph used him very well. I thought
Absolutely.
but in a lot of the comics, he's just like
You just stay home.
he's staying home watching sitcoms or whatever on, or his stories. He used to say.
Jim, you have a favorite?
Here we go.
I guess I gotta say, I got kind of a kick, I remember at the time, like the Krang-headed Shredder.
Yes.
Remember that?
I love that. Yes.
And
I
it's
was
like-
excited as hell. He came out with a toy with it recently.
How,
I
how
love
does
that design.
How did it work? What orifice?
I think.
how-
So I think we figured out that Krang is like a symbiotic thing he can kind of do, and he took over Krang's. Squishy. Yeah, he went over Shredder's head, and he was.
It was just so bizarre,
That's
but
great, yeah.
it's like, you know,
was
Archie
a good
Turtles was so wacky anyways. It's,
Yeah. I love that one. That's a great one. Steve, what about you?
I'm gonna serve myself. I did a character, the codename Chameleon.
Oh yeah.
So it was fun to create that and do that, and yeah, Chris did one issue, and Jim did the other issue. So that was fun. You
Why are
know,
we not going to toy that guy? Jeez, he was
I know
great.
2 issues. I thought for sure he was going to get
Oh.
in the toy rack, and then they made the disguised turtles. So I was
Sure.
like, that's him basically right there. So yeah.
Tom, end on you. A favorite Mutant to write for, and then last thing I'll ask is if you have anything else to say about IDW releases. That'll be the end before we go to Q&A.
As far as like, I just draw one ugly turtle head. That's all I know how to draw. and people still want it. I don't know why, but I think as far as characters overall, in my time in Turtles, and I actually have a fondness for Splinter. Splinter is my favorite, and my favorite one to write is Baxter Stockman because I basically I worked with Gene Simmons from Kiss for a while, so my Baxter Stockman is Gene Simmons in a lot of ways, but kind of that same force. But yeah. But when I wrote the 100 issues, I didn't even realize until the last issue that I had been telling Splinter's story the whole time. It didn't dawn on me until the end. I was like, really what I've been telling, even when he wasn't on the page, this revolved around Splinter because it started, I deliberately never used internal monologue in the series because there's just too many characters and I wanted the action and the dialogue to speak for me. But I did do that in the first issues, and it was Master Splinter's dialogue. And right when I got to issue 100, I said, that dialogue I used in issue 1 fits here in issue 100. It just worked out that way, and that's when I said this is Splinter's story. And we all get asked, who's your favorite turtle? And it's like picking a favorite kid or something like that. But I said I love them all. Sometimes one is more fun to write than the other, depending on the scenario or what's going on. But I said I kind of look like Splinter now, and I think and that's another again the power of turtles. It's such a family-oriented story that at different stages in your life you're going to relate to the different characters. So I don't relate so much to teenagers anymore as I do parents that have kids that are concerned about their kids, and that's who Splinter is. So
people always ask me what my
favorite.
favorite turtle is, and I said, I don't see them so much as individuals as aspects of a whole personality.
Yeah.
And I feel like they work better as a unit, and you see them as a unit, and they're just they complement each other so much that I almost don't even think of them as individuals that much.
Well, that's the approach Kevin and I took in Last Ronin is, and spoilers, I'm sorry if anybody hasn't read it, but the idea that, and I won't say the name, but the last turtle still talks to the brothers that are passed away. And I've never said to Kevin, he's never said to me, oh, they're really there, they're ghosts. Is he just, it's figment of his imagination. But for me, it is that same thing. Like, they were always so bonded, it was such a symbiotic bond that they can't operate without each other. So it wouldn't matter which one was still alive, the other three are always going to kind of be there, with Master Splinter kind of over the top. But as far as IDW, I will say this, so Last Ronin Re-Evolution just went to hardcover. That is the second volume of what is going to be a 3-volume trilogy. So we are going to do another 5-issue series to close out the Last Ronin stuff, but in between we're planning on doing a one-shot. Kevin and I we're working on that right now. That's just going to fill the gap. That's going to you get to see the Ronin training Casey Marie Jones. We never really got to show that, so we want to kind of tell a tale that we weren't able to tell in the book. We have Battle Nexus coming, so that'll be. I know it's November, December. I think it's a 5-week series. It's going to be a lot of fun. Sophie Campbell, Eric Burnham. Caleb's on there, Paul Aller, myself, a bunch of great artists, probably 1 million covers. Ninjara's coming back. We've already announced Slash is somehow coming back because he had passed away in the IDW book. Slash is another character I like a lot, by the way, too. Yeah. You don't die in comics, right? And then as far as the main line, Gene Hua's coming on, and we had a meeting the other day. We had a writer's summit with Dan Waters because we've got, they've got a Shredder solo series that's running right now, a Casey Jones, and then obviously the main line, and we've got some really good creators that are coming together to really kind of tell a cohesive story. And I think coming out of Jason Aaron's run where he kind of took it back to the basics, got the brothers back together, got them back on the street, now we can expand out. But what I'm lobbying for right now is I've been setting up this story I've been wanting to tell in Dimension X forever with Nova Posse, with the Neutrinos, and all these characters. So I keep lobbying for a chance to tell that story. So maybe they'll let me tell that story finally. And that's going to be that's absolutely 100% inspired by Archie's. Actually has Chancellor Mazul in there
nice.
who came out of that book. So there's a lot going on, and I think there's going to be even more announcements. I think they announced that there's a Turtles Godzilla.
Turtles Godzilla's coming.
Godzilla gets around.
I also want to
man.
mention the Archie Compendium. The first volume just came out. Chris did the cover, and the next one's coming. Ken did the cover, so those are coming. I left no time, but is there anybody who has a question that wanted to ask? X-Men guy.
We were all just living and breathing turtles. So if you were at lunch, talking about sports or movies or whatever, It would just all blend.
Interactive. We were always together, like hanging out, even like after work. We would go down to the bar down the street, and we would just always be together. So I think the influence.
No individual.
Yeah, there was always influences, I think, coming from everybody. So yeah.
Anybody else have a question before they kick me out of here? This guy and then that guy, and then I'm going to call it. Oh, not him.
Did Archie ever meet the TMNT? Like, did you guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a crossover. Yep. Yeah, it was a crossover. Yep. Archie met Turtles, the Punisher, Kiss, Predator. Who else?
Archie gets around.
Archie gets around.
Kevin, I thought Kevin did the original Slash turtle, and it was kind of, I always say that it was have to build the cat from Opus, because he had one giant eye and one small eye, and I think originally when he drew him, he drew an ack, like with it, but it was kind of like a goofy, space turtle that
And
he
when
did just with one giant eye.
When he appeared in the
and
book,
stuff.
like
Yeah.
I was saying how I would often get faxes of character designs, that time they sent me the Slash toy and said, this is the character. And I'm like, so he was already a toy when he was appearing in the Archie book. And he, okay, this guy's in here now? All right, sure.
So it was interesting. He had little accents of Shredder. Like the
I think I got that Kevin sketch when I did the cover. Yeah. That one cover, so I was like, who's this character? And they're just like, oh, well, it's and it was just build the cat, Kevin Space. I think that's it. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well,
Yeah, again, sure.
I created him at a bar. Kevin stole it from me.
All right. I'm sure they're going to kick me off here soon.
No way anybody can dispute that.
Oh, wait, we got one more? Okay, last one for you. I'm sorry. Thanks, Tom.
I just want to thank you all because I have 4 boys and they loved the series. As a matter of fact, I wanted to name my last one Leo. My first one's Michael. Anyway, thank you really for your talent and for everything that you did.
Ma'am.
It helped them read, helped them enjoy, just imagination, just great. Thank you so much.
That's great. That's a better way to end it than anything else.